Okay, carry it on.
Okay, so just a second. All right,
Right.
let's begin again. So you were talking about your wish, and I think we covered the territory.
Yeah, we did.
Okay, so let's get into quickies. Okay,
Okay.
all right.
Yeah.
So who is your favorite writer?
Steinbeck.
Mm, favorite,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. Favorite artist?
Um, uh, I love art. It's hard to say favorite. I really, really like there's an artist named Jim Vogel. I like who's a Southwestern artist out of Taos, and I like an artist named Fred Honeycutt, who is a local metal artist. He's also my mentor, one of my
Cool,
mentors.
cool. So maybe you'll send me,
Unknown names for sure.
maybe you'll send me some, when we ask you to send me images, maybe you'll send me some of their work. So, if,
Any, I mean, as long as you can hear me.
okay. Do you have a favorite book?
The Grapes of Wrath
Grapes of
and
Wrath.
yeah, and the those are my favorite author, right? And
Yeah.
then the other book that I've read a million times is called The Seven Mysteries of Life by Guy Murchie.
Mm,
More philosophy. It's a philosophy science book. Yeah,
cool. Okay.
highly recommend it.
Okay. Do you have a favorite movie?
The Wizard of Oz. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
And what's your favorite meal?
Lasagna.
Mm.
Had it for every birthday.
Oh,
Still do.
oh, that's cool.
Special.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have favorite music?
No, not really. It's eclectic. Kind of, I like really almost everything, from symphonies to punk rock, and it changed. My favorites change month to month, and currently I'm listening a lot of a band called Daka Braka, which is Ukrainian. Um, Kind of a mix of rock and folk and really really interesting stuff, and some slightly newer, what's his name, David Byrne. took me a second.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I'm listening to now. I mean, I'm listening to everything, but I like that, and I'm also really liking Anna Tijoux,
Mm,
who's kind of a Spanish French singer, really good.
okay, cool. Do you have a favorite place to be?
The ocean, without a doubt.
Mhm.
Yeah, and the desert. they're they're both similar. It's just the wide open expanse that really speaks to me.
Yeah.
Seeing a horizon. It's really important.
Okay, great. Okay, now we're going to go through relatives. So I'll name names and
Okay.
I'm asking you to think of a special memory. Okay. So,
Okay.
all right, let's begin with Uncle Jack.
Yeah. Jack, um, intimidating but warm, and really looked up to him, and also got into some arguments with him a few times. And so I think a really special memory I had from of him, and it really speaks to me even today, because I think I was 11 or 12, and he was visiting in Tucson during my birthday. So he bought me a birthday present, and it was this money box, like the size of a loaf of bread, with a key and a safe. and he gave it to me, and he maybe had a little talk with me about what I put in there for me in my eyes only, and it was about privacy. And I think, as usual, he turned it into some kind of lecture on justice, and on the rights to privacy. And and I loved that. I loved that I could write anything or put any money that I earned in there, and that was really that was really a great memory about how that kind of was symbolic of of a lot of discussions I had with him. And I remember, kind of an argument I had with him too about his powers as a judge, that he could do whatever he wanted to. And he was pretty angry about me saying that and took me aside and lectured me. And so, my memories of him were those were special because he was willing to talk to me like an adult, even though I was a kid, when I had to do with justice and juvenile justice, and he got me very interested in the law and justice. Not to be a lawyer, but to seek out ways to make sure that citizens were expressing their rights, and not being hassled for it, especially youth. So that was my memory of him.
Wow. Okay. What about Evelyn?
Evelyn, I spent when my parents lived in Toronto. Sometimes I would go to New York during the summers, and sometimes I went to Toronto. But when I went to New York, I hung out in the basement, over there at 10 Ramola. And every morning when I'd get up, she would get up around the same time, and we'd hang out in the kitchen and have these discussions about anything, usually politics. She liked talking about that. I liked listening, but it was always over pot cheese and pineapple, because that's all she ever had in the fridge, which, except for the ice cream, which was off limits. So I just have these warm memories of her also talking to me like a grown up. I really appreciated that of my aunts and uncles.
Okay. Thanks. My dad, Bill.
I really wish I could have gotten to know your father better, and that, well, we can talk about your mom next, but the times that I spent with Uncle Bill, I was just so proud of him because he was so funny and in command in a really nice way. He had, and I hate to say this now because it sounds so like corporate, but his leadership skills, that he used his humor to lead groups, and I probably subconsciously learned how to do that, because then, that's what I became in my career, was the CEO of a company, and I used a lot of humor to diffuse situations and to get people on board with things that were stupid, and in any other sense. So I made fun of it, but we had to do it. And he was really good that way. And I remember playing some kind of a golf one day, but mostly I think I remember the same things that everybody is going to say: the Chinese restaurants, big one on, I don't remember what street it was, near my parents' house, and the barbecues in your backyard, that were so not Jewish, and it was such a pleasure because we didn't do those kinds of things. And I thought, oh, that's not what Jews do. They don't do barbecues. That's for the goyim, and I loved them. So when Uncle Bill did them, I'm like, yes, oh, I love ketchup, anything like that we never, like, we didn't have mayo and ketchup and burgers and buns and white bread, and so I totally love that. It is just fun. It was just he's just a fun, super warm person to be around, and I wish I could have gotten to know him better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my mom, Marilyn.
Yeah, well, there's still time for me to get to know her better. And I just remember that she was just so funny in her sarcastic, cutting kind of way. Like she was the champion of that. And I just still to this day, when we have family get-togethers, even at your father's memorial, and she, she just managed to say things that I'm sure piss you off and your brother and sister.
Do you remember something?
Because it's coming. Okay, I remember my favorite thing she said that I still laugh about, and it was totally not very nice, about someone, because most of the things that I laughed at were like not very nice about people, but funny and true and stuff. And let's see, I don't want to repeat it.
Oh, go on.
This might actually right. Watch this. They were there. It's okay. I tell you. Um, I remember at your dad's birthday, we you were there. We did the haiku in the back,
Yeah, yeah, that
and
was great. I
yeah,
I still
and
have those, by the way.
we oh good. We were up in the front in the living room. This is Mary Larry's house,
Yeah.
and your mom was up in that sunroom up in the front, I think, and I was sitting next to her, and and Ben walks in with a glass of wine, and she she looks at me and she goes, "Well, look who's having another drink." Something like, "Oh, Marilyn, is that?" Oh, I take it that you don't like that your son-in-law drinks wine at these events. It's like, oh my God. So it was like continuous stuff like that, And I remember back in Great Neck how she would get Larry to just jump up and do whatever she asked, and she would ask for the funniest things. Like she would like, "Larry, go get me a glass of tab, will you?" And so he's in the kitchen getting her a glass of tab, and she goes, "Just one ice cube," from the living room all the way to the kitchen. The whole house can hear it. I'm like, this lady, she's got the sense of timing and everything. Maybe she doesn't know it, but it's like a sitcom kind of thing.
Yeah,
Anyway,
sitcom.
but underneath that, she's just warm and loving, and I never felt anything but love from her, or I never feel anything but love from her, and I love her so much. I really should go visit her again.
Yeah. Wow, you're so good with these memories. I can't believe it. From the beginning with the
Yeah.
stick and now the glass of tab. It's brilliant. Okay. What about your dad, Marv?
Oh, Marvin, that's so complicated. One special memory is a good one because everyone has weird ones of their parents, so I'll avoid those. And when probably like 30 and he was 60 or 60, something like that, around that age, maybe I was a year plus or minus 2 years. I asked him to go on a river rafting trip with me down the Grand Canyon, and he accepted. And we went on an 8-day rafting trip, the two of us, with in a group that was led. And this is so wonderful to be with him for that much time together and not really fight too much during that time. And he spent like a couple of months getting in shape, jogging, losing a ton of weight. Of course, I was svelte 30-year-old guy. I didn't need to do any of that. And so I was really worried about him hiking the Grand Canyon Trail. And of course, I was the one that fell on the trail and dislocated my shoulder and broke one of my fingers and he didn't know. He was ahead of me, and we kept it from him the whole time. And I remember falling in a rapid. I decided to kayak down instead of being in the raft and falling in, and it was really fun. And in the rapid, they had to hold him back because he wanted to jump in and rescue me. Meanwhile, I was having the time of my life. Like, this is fun. I want to keep this rapid going. So, I mean, that whole week was just a wonderful father-son trip. And I attempted to repeat that with my own son at about this not a similar age, much younger. And Yeah, it you know how things are. You have these expectations like I did when I was younger, a younger father, and of course it didn't turn out to be the same, but it was still fun.
Yeah,
That was a great memory of dad.
that's cool. And what about your
Yeah.
mom, Naomi?
And my mom, uh, really close to the end of her life, like less than a year before she died, um, my father had just had his a hip replacement surgery, and so I was hanging out with them, doing what I could to help. My mom wasn't feeling great. Nobody knew that she had cancer at the time, pancreatic cancer. She had all these terrible stomach aches that she had had going on for like a year. But I asked her if she wanted to get out of the house because she was getting pretty sick and tired of Marvin's kvetching. And so I took her to Sabino Canyon, which is this beautiful area in the mountains of Tucson, and we walked along a swollen river that was full of water and waterfalls were running. And we took this beautiful hike, and she was keeping up with it. And I just remember how proud I was of her that she was um, doing this so well and enjoying herself and enjoying being with me. And I videotaped some of it, so that's actually up. Excuse me, on YouTube. I put some of that up.
Cool.
Unbeknownst to everybody, she had cancer at the time, so I mean, she enjoyed her life up until the last or so. You know,
Yeah, it's so important.
that,
And you
that was
documented it. That's great.
yeah, I did.
Okay. All right. How about a memory of Grandma Bess?
She was the boss. Or I remember her. She's probably one of my earliest childhood memories too, because I think she was living with us. If she lived with all of us at one point or another. Um, and so all of us grandkids, I think, were influenced by her and her. Well, I can't speak for anybody else but me. She was a very powerful presence, and I was a little bit intimidated by her. Um, but I have a couple of memories I can think of when she was living with us in Rockville Center. Um, she decided to go up in the attic for some reason that only she knows. And you know how attics are, they're not all, there's no floor up there except for a couple pieces of plywood. And so she stepped off of the plywood, I guess, and just stepped right through the ceiling. And maybe her broke a leg or an ankle or something. I was so young. And so I don't know if I saw this, but somebody, I think she started screaming for help, and there was two legs dangling from the ceiling. And in this baby, Anna was just an infant, and I think she had like broken the ceiling into Anna's crib, and maybe Anna was covered with like ceiling debris with a couple of grandma's legs dangling out of the ceiling. That's a great memory. And then the other really endearing memory is that she I think she did this with Ariel too at one time, but she took all of us kids one on one, just her and the kid. She did it with me. And took us up to Toronto to hang out at Whitaker Crescent. Is that the name of the street?
Yeah.
Whitaker, or yeah, in Willowdale, and hang out with you kids. That was like the one time I got to play with you, and I think that's probably one of the only times I got to know you. Was that I was only 6, so who knows what you were at 10, or I don't. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I guess. Or 11 maybe.
Yeah, I think
Probably
so.
especially obnoxious.
Yeah, so but I got to hang out with Andrew. I
Yeah.
got to find out about Bill's white bread and mayo and all the fun foods that you guys had. But she took me up there on a Greyhound bus, and okay, Grandma Bess was like this. She laid the most epic farts in the world, and when she did, uh, she would just she would move the chair around, so she wanted people to think it was moving the chair that made the sound and not her.
Mm.
And so she farted on the Greyhound bus, and I'm sitting next to her. Like, I don't think anything of it because we were raised in a family where that's normal. And so I can tell she was trying to move the chair in the Greyhound bus, but it wasn't moving at all. And I don't remember that, and it cracks me up to this day because I'm still a little boy deep inside, and I still laugh at fart jokes. And I say, that was a memory. But I mean, mainly the memory was that she
Yeah,
took me up to Toronto to
right.
be with cousins. She thought it was important. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So further to that.
You're not amused.
No, I can
Yeah.
imagine, I'm at the age where I also fart, so I can imagine that, but as a little kid, that would be like epic.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Is there a special family event that you hold dear? Max, dear.
Oh yeah. And I'm thinking about big family events. Um, I don't hold them dear. They all kind of meld together for me, and sometimes my memory is of somebody said something and it was at somebody's wedding, but it actually was at somebody else's. So they all kind of meld together because I just feel comfortable with cousins, and family. And so I think just generally family reunions and whatever brings us together was good. So I don't want to cop out on the question, but I don't have any particular event that I
Okay.
can remember that is
Okay.
special. They're
Okay.
all special.
Okay. So, just in that lumpy memory of all this mess of memories, how does it make
Yeah, yeah.
how does it make you feel when you think about that being together?
It's wonderful, and I want more. You know, I it's 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 good. We all made attempts and still make attempts, like you're doing right here, to keep the family, to realize the importance of family, and to act on that and to help each other. And I always feel that I have a cousin now because besides your mom, it's all of us cousins that are here for each other, and I'm committed to that.
Mm.
Um, so it makes me feel warm. It makes me feel like I have a place.
Mm. You're frozen. Oh, it's my fault. Oh no.
Oh, you're back. Okay.
Okay, I see my internet is coming up and down. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry, but whatever we're getting here is still precious. So let's carry
Yeah.
on. Um, okay. Final question.
Yeah.
It's a big one. Is there anything you wish I'd asked?
Wow. No, no, I can't think of that being on the receiving end of these questions. What I'd wish you had asked me, uh, is there anything that you wish you had asked that's not on your list?
I've got a few more on the list, so I'm covered. Oh, you're frozen. Okay, maybe not. All right. For example, what age do you feel inside?
You're breaking up.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Do you hear me? Do you hear me? Do you hear me?
I didn't hear.
Okay.
Now I do.
Okay. What age do you feel?
No,
No. What age do you feel inside? No.
23,
Why?
23.
Okay, why?
Why? Because I still feel I have a whole life in front of me.
Hmm.
And and I have enough memories of my past life to take advantage of what I've learned so that my life in front of me can be even better.
Mm.
And I still feel silly and I'm immature and I feel like I got away with being an adult even though I was a kid inside. I feel a little bit of like, oh, well, I pulled one over on all those people that like thought that I was some kind of a serious businessman, but bullshit, I was just faking it. And so, um, yeah, it's like, oh, it's all play. Life is play. Life is make believe, and I still play make believe. Yeah,
Cool.
but and 23 is it's just a great age. Maybe it
Okay.
wasn't. Maybe I was probably pretty angsty, for real at 23, but now I'm not.
Mhm.
So I feel like I'm 23 with the maturity of a 63-year-old
Cool.
or immature.
Okay.
Larry would say immaturity.
We'll ask him when it's his turn. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
How would you like your descendants to remember you?
Um, that's a great question.
Why it's a great
Just
question? It came from you.
as Oh, is it? Did it? Oh, well, no wonder. It's fine. I want them to remember me for asking great questions and having even better answers. Um, I just as somebody who had a great sense of humor and loved to laugh and was warm and cared about them and and cared about their well-being.
Mm.
I I I I couldn't think of really anything in particular except for the feeling. I want them to remember a feeling of closeness.
Okay. And this is a new question.
Yeah.
This was Michael's idea. What aspirations do you have for your children? What aspirations do you have for your children?
Um, I want them to do what makes them happy first. Um, them to live in a safe and secure world and feel like their life is being contributory towards the the growth of human, I don't know, human kindness and human understanding. And I think that they would say they have those aspirations now. So I want them to continue that. I'm really proud of my kids. They're doing things that and thinking the way I didn't I didn't start thinking until they taught me how. So I have aspirations for them to continue that and teach other people those things.
Can you say a few words about your kids?
They're really different. That's a huge subject. Like, what about my kids?
Yeah.
They love each other, which is super important because when I'm gone and Suzanne and their mom is bio mom is gone, they have each other, and thankfully they really really love and respect each other. I mean, they have their fights and they get annoyed with each other like any brother and sister,
Mhm.
but they do have that, and they each are independent. Um, they take care of themselves and they make things happen for themselves that they want to happen. It's not always easy that they're finding out now that it's not easy, but they do it on their own. I don't, like David, like myself, would never work for another entity. Um, you know, he's always going to take care of himself, and the people that work for him are going to have good lives too.
Mm.
Um, And Eva is just kind of setting out. She's had some setbacks in health wise in the last few years, but I feels like she's moving in the right direction. Just finally got some good news this year, and I I can't say much more. She's an artist and she's funny, and she's her and I are peas in a pod, and we can finish each other's sentences. We just understand each other. It's really weird. Understand each other so well as two people. Uh, I have that with my son to a certain extent, but it's bizarre with Eva. It's really cool, and I really miss her. Really, I miss them both. David lived on the West Coast for a while.
Yeah.
Eva's coming back in a few weeks to live with us.
Yeah.
She's moving back to California. So I don't know. That's such a big topic. I'm just really proud of my kids, and they make me laugh. They make me laugh. Oh my God. Oh my God. When they're just in the same room and I just get to sit back and be proud Papa,
Mhm.
it's like the best feeling in the world. I know you know that feeling.
Yeah.
You must.
Yeah, I do.
What can I say? It's so great.
Mhm. Okay. So I think with that, we both feel good. Let's cut it. Um,
Okay.
Send me some pictures.
Okay.
Send me lots of pictures, okay? My email.
I don't take a lot of photos. But I will. I'll try to find some. Maybe Suzanne has some.
Okay.
I love you, Judy. Thanks
Love
for
you. Thanks
for
a million. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.